What's up, YouTube friends? So today I'm going to continue my quilt block series, my sampler quilt block series, and we're going to crank out 3 more blocks today. Now these ones are very easy, and each block just has a slight variation to it. So the first block we're going to do today is called the shoe fly. Now I'll go ahead and I'll put the measurements right here in the video. So for the gold fabric, this is going to be fabric A. You'll need 2 5-inch blocks and 4 4.5-inch blocks. For fabric B, the red, we'll need 2 5-inch blocks. And for fabric C, I'm using this blue floral print. You'll need 1 4.5. So I'm just going to set my 4.5-inch blocks off to the side. We don't have to do anything with those. Then I'm going to grab my 5-inch blocks. And just like last week, we're going to do some half square triangles. So all I'm going to do is put my right sides together. So I have one of my gold fabrics and one of my red fabrics. I already went ahead and I drew a line corner to corner. And then I'm just going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance on either side of the line. And I'm going to do that to both of my blocks. And just so nothing moves, I'm going to add a couple pins to my blocks. Alright guys, so today I'll be using the straight stitch. My length is a 2.5. And just like before, I want this to be pretty exact. Normally I would just run my fabric along the edge of my presser foot, but that's a pretty fat 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to run my line right along this edge of my presser foot. That's exactly a 1/4 inch away. And I'm also going to back stitch. And just keep sewing. And now I'm just going to flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. Next, I'm just going to take my ruler and rotary cutter and I'm going to cut right on that line. Next, I'm just going to take these over to my ironing board and I'm going to press these towards the darker fabric. Whenever possible, always press towards the darker fabric. So now I'm just going to trim these up. Now you could wait until the end when you have all your blocks sewed together to trim it up, that's fine. But since this is going to finish a 12.5-inch block, and these are going to be a 3x3 or a 9 patch, you can go ahead and just use your 4.5-inch ruler to trim them up nicely now. So I'm just going to run my 45-degree mark along my seam, and then just trim these up. And as you can see, it's really not that much. Now if you do prefer just to trim this up later when you have your block all sewed together, go ahead and just trim off your little dog ears now. So now we just need to lay out our block. So our half square triangles will go in the corner, and I want the darker fabric facing in. Next it'll be one of my gold pieces. Then I'm going to take another 4.5-inch gold piece. My blue one's going to go in the middle. And then just finish it off with the other 2 half square triangles and then the gold in the middle. So it should look just like that. So now I'm just going to sew these into 3 strips. So I'm going to take the middle fabric here. I'm going to lay it over with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, back stitching at the beginning and the end. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the same thing with this fabric. Lay it over, 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to do that to all 3 of my strips. And then I'll just come back and I'll sew this together. after that, I went ahead and gave these a press. So I pressed my seams going to the right on the top and the bottom strip, and in the middle strip I pressed it going to the left. So now we just need to sew these together. So I'm just going to lay the top one over the middle one, and I'm going to match up my seams and make sure that they lock in and nestle nicely. And then just stick a pin right on that seam. And I'm going to do it to the other side. So now I'm just going to take this back over to my sewing machine using that 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to backstitch at the beginning and the end and sew all the way down. When I get done with that, I'll go ahead and I'll press this open and then do the same thing on the other side. And just that quick and easy, our shoe fly block is complete. Now I'm kind of going with the Christmas theme on these. I have a ton of Christmas fabric scraps. So here is the first one, and we'll get on to the second one. Now this next block is called a Churn Dash. So this one only uses 2 fabrics, and I'll put the measurements right here. So the blue snowflake fabric will be fabric A, and then this black polka dot will be fabric B. So first I went ahead and I made my half square triangles the same way we've been making them. And then I went ahead with the 2.5 inch pieces and I sewed 1 black to 1 blue. Just like that. And now I'm just going to sew it together the exact same way. So I'm going to do them by 3 strips and then sew my strips together. So I'll bring you back when I'm done with that. Alright, so the first one really didn't need trimmed up since I did trim up those corner squares first. But this one does need trimmed up. So now I'm just going to trim up this block. The first one really didn't need it because we trimmed the blocks earlier. So I'm just going to line up these lines with lines on my grid, and then these lines going across with lines on my grid. Now, just like before, this is going to measure 12.5 inches. So I'm going to come 1/4 inch off of the inch mark. Like on this side, it's 17. And trim it if needed. That side really didn't need it, but these other 3 sides do. Alright, and that is our Churn Dash block. So let's rock out that third block. Now this final block is called Golden Gate. Now I'll put the measurements on the screen. So the red fabric is going to be fabric A, the white fabric will be fabric B, and then the yellow fabric will be fabric C. Now this one is similar to the Churn Dash, except for this time we have 3 pieces. So I did my half square triangles just like before, and then I went ahead and I sewed 2 yellow pieces onto 1 red piece. And just like before, I'm going to sew those into strips and then sew them together. And I still need to just trim this up, but here is our finished Golden Gate block. So now we're 3 blocks closer to finishing this sampler block quilt. Now out of all of these, I really am liking the Churn Dash block. Blue just happens to be one of my favorite colors, but I'm really liking how the blue pops against the black. But comment down below and let me know which one of these blocks is your favorite. If you like this video and want to see more of my videos, go down below and hit that big red subscribe button and give this video a big thumbs up. If you have a question about this video or any of my other videos, or would just like to leave a suggestion for a future upcoming video, leave me a comment. Now if you'd like to support this channel, check out my links down below. Right now on my Etsy store, I'm having a 15% off patriotic sale the whole month of July. I'll also have my links down below for my other social medias if you'd like to follow me over there. And as always, thanks for watching, happy sewing, and I'll see you next time.